Hello, welcome to 60-second reviews. I'm Steve, and today I'll be giving my insights on the World of Tanks map Mountain Pass in as short a time as possible. Mountain Pass is a map that has remained largely unchanged throughout the game's lifetime. The changes that have been implemented won't bother you that much unless you're a dirty, filthy climber. A 1k by 1k summer map which hosts only the standard battle game type, its ineligibility for the other modes has certainly contributed to the longevity of its current state. The northwest and southeast spawns give us a symmetry line on this map which aids us when looking at balancing. We can see the map breaks symmetry in three main areas, these being the Overlook, the bases, and the ice road. These differences denote and enforce major gameplay differences between the spawns, so let's look at Overlook. Sitting at H24, this cutout land would in an ideal world be right here on the line of symmetry. However, as it stands, it's closer and more accessible to the southeast spawn, meaning more often than not they will possess this position early, with aggressive fights occurring on the southwest corner. H24 is a position that dominates large portions of the map, able to open up fire to a variety of positions, also offering flexibility with a fairly easy dismount to flank and adapt. It is one of the most important positions to take and fight for, and by possessing it, you essentially lock down movement of the low ground stretched out below it. It is a powerful position, and it's given early to the southeast flank. The spawns of Mountain Pass have far more nuance to their balance than the Overlook, although when put in a defensive position I will pick southeast every single time. This is because when looking at a claimed position of high ground, you can tell how powerful it is by observing how much traversable low ground it can dominate or observe. Doing that for these spawns shows us this. The southern spawn can see every angle one can take to approach it by moving only a few meters. Against multiple or competent opponents, it is more or less impossible to approach the southeast hill without being spotted. Contrary to this, the northwest spawn has great overlooks to the middle and the southeast, as well as offensive capabilities towards the bridge that the south lacks. However, it has an entire approach to the base on the same level ground as it. This land cannot be watched from a position of power, as it's blocked by the mountain. Therefore, it provides a critical weakness in the defense of the cap. This is why it's common to see tanks defending the ice road from here, atop the high ground relative to the enemy. Alas, as can be clearly seen, it is impossible to adeptly control both approaches from one position, not the case in the south. Also worth noting at this time is the differences between the cap circles. Here in the north, the cap is placed almost directly below the hill, meaning almost any tank will have to dismount the high ground in order to deal with cap pressure. This is a far cry from the southeast, where the cap is sprawled out below the far gentler hill, meaning defenders can easily reset and defend from highly secure positions, as well as having more options to try and surprise relocation unseen. Cap pressure in the south is not a viable option, so again, the balance here favours the southeast team. Traversing the ice road of Mountain Pass is generally speaking the worst tactical approach to this map, as whichever spawn you originate from, it consists of diving down into extensive low ground and commencing a laborious climb up into entrenched opponents. Again though, the northern spawn gets the short end of the stick due to a number of factors. Number 1. H24, as we know, is generally taken early by the enemy, so any offensive measure by these forces is more likely to have to worry about cross-court shots than vice versa. This is not crippling, and I rarely see it turning the tide of an ice road assault, but it is worth noting. Number 2. Exposure. We've covered power of high ground, but it really is potent when talking about defense. The most common danger zones when attacking the southeast base are here on initial approach, here on the late push, and here at the attack's conclusion. Compare that to the attack from the north, here on initial approach, here on the late push, and here at the attack's conclusion. And this brings us tidily to number 3, endgame. When considering a play or tactic in World of Tanks, you should strive to look beyond the initial outcome. If I show you both of these exposure graphics, you can see the contrast between the final scenarios. If you attempt to approach the southeast base from the ice road, especially if you're beaten up and bruised from a fight, you are playing a very dangerous game, and any reasonably competent player will have more than enough time whilst you're steadily climbing up that long hill to relocate from whatever they're doing and claim the hill before you get there, at which point that player can severely limit your options and potentially kill you with absurd ease. This is not the case when attacking north. The ice road attack is questionable at best. From both sides you'd probably be better fighting for H24. From both sides you forsake flexibility for a move that is going to take you a very long time due to terrain, and hold down opponents. But if you do choose to do it, do not do it from the north, because once again, the balance favours the south. It is exceedingly common for light tanks to make a rush down into the centre of the map in order to light up opposing heavies and tank destroyers. If you spawn south, knock yourself out, it's a decent play. If you spawn north though, do not do this. H24 is gifted to the enemy. It's a position of high ground directly above your scouting position, and even if they don't kill you directly, you're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. With people above you and waiting behind you, this is a position you do not want to be in. You forsake your flexibility for menial spotting damage. In addition, this position loses relevance remarkably quickly, and in order to leave it safely, you must hope that your team wins their fight for the Overlook. And trust me, if you can avoid relying on your team in all the tanks, you probably should. When making your way to H24 from either flank, and this is especially important when in a tank with slow turret traverse, like a T-34, pre-traverse your turret, and lock it off by holding down the right mouse button. You have plenty of time to do this when leaving spawn. I see far too many people only turning their turrets when 6 cents goes off and I take a shell in the side. The land, specifically from the south spawn, is uneven enough to conceal some of your hull, and the angle on your turret could save you from some early damage. If you spawn north in the top tier platoon of mediums or some fast light tanks, consider a decisive early push to H24. People aren't often expecting you, and if you can secure it before their backup arrives, it gives a powerful early foothold. From the southeast, if you're attempting to proceed with the attack after securing H24, progress to here, kill whatever's in your way, then stop. Beyond this point, lines of fire open up from the enemy hill, which is why you should consider sending some people back and over H24. If they can work from the middle, they can very easily spot the enemy hill, allowing a far easier approach. This is less effective when attacking from the north due to the southern hill having more foliage. If you have taken H24 and a foolish light tank pushes into the dip below you, make sure to be careful of this shot occurring. It's often another light tank or medium, but it could also be something a lot bigger. Remember, that light tank down there is in a difficult position anyway. He can't leave while your team holds that position, and you can kill it at your leisure when it's safe to do so. His position is only relevant at the beginning and end of the game, so take your time, kill him when it's safe. Mountain Pass is a map that from a tactical standpoint heavily favours the southern team. As is always the case due to humanity, however, it won't always be as one-sided as you see here. My meta rating for it is medium. Every tank has its place and role without feeling too stringent or restrictive. If I were to change this map, I'd move the Overlook to the line of symmetry, meaning that the fight centres around fighting to use it, rather than the north fighting to take it from the south. And also I'd make the southern base less unassailable. In any case, those are my thoughts on Mountain Pass. Did you agree with my conclusions? Did your experience match mine? Did you learn something? Let me know in the comments, because I will respond to every single one of them, so you're guaranteed a response from me. And if you enjoyed this review and you'd like to see more, then drop a like on the video. If we can hit 300 likes, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. Until next time, farewell.